Alzheimer's has fundamentally altered my DNA, caused a sea change in my personality and worldview, forced epiphanies and realizations into my manic mind, and has impacted forever on our family and our lives. My mother Siobhan carried this illness for a decade, and we as a family carried her. And I was so moved by what I witnessed, so traumatized, so shaken, that I did the only thing I could do. I wrote it. All of it. Even her death. Tonight is a story about voices and memory and honesty, and it is because of this evening you will be hearing the inspirational stories of the contributors here who have humbled me. Brian Doyle, mic drop. And the story of Siobhan and the Scourge, as I wrote Scourged in two voices, my quiet, gentle mother narrating half a century of her enfant terrible's life in her husky Carlo voice, and me as the witness documenting the last 10 years of hers, bravely battling a death by 1,000 cuts. Siobhan sat in her big blue chair by the window long enough to teach me how to let her go. And now she is returning the favor from out at the misty edges where the voile curtains shimmer, lilac and gold in the fog. And she smiles now as she carries me. So what I want to do is just give you a quick flavor of something that happened when Siobhan literally only had a few months left to live. And this piece from the book Scourged is called The Bath. I had spotted the bath in a momentary glimpse through a door. At the time, Siobhan was walking beside me, then linked. Later, it was a walking aid, and then finally into the Stephen Hawking chair she inhabits now. The bath reminded me of its presence even when the door was closed. It called me from behind the wooden portal, promising benefits and healing and therapy. I never forgot it was there. Last week, I passed it again and found a nurse. Whose leg do you have to hump to get a go in that bath? She agreed to put my request in the report that the matron oversees. I was sitting with my father when I got the call and was pleased and shocked at the speed of getting back to me, and now shocked that I had to take the call with him sitting in front of me. The matron is direct and straight. She's not overly familiar. She's not a larger-than-life character that gushes and exclaims and calls people love and darling, describing everything, including humans, as delicious. In short, she is not me. Well, the only misgivings, she begins, and I cut her off right there. Let me reassure you, there are no misgivings to have. It is hydrotherapy. I will help you, and she will love it. My father is watching me. I mouth the name of the nursing home and watch his face change, the sudden pallor under the beginning of the tan he has attained, sitting with her in the baking afternoon sun of the courtyard, both of them wearing the donated sun hats that have graced 100 other nameless bent white heads. I motion with my hand. This is a routine call. I walk outside and listen as the matron talks about spatial awareness being absent, and I reassure her this will be beneficial and I will help. She cannot know that I know that Siobhan loves water, that being reared in an inland town with no water means that she always loved seas and beaches and the sounds of trickling fountains. That my sister and I removed her from a sweltering hospital ward wearing an ankle tag and a nappy and supported her to the edge of the ocean, dragging her up the slippery dunes with an audience staring at the woman in the pajamas, the trinity of us reflected in the late evening sun, the white foam drenching her slippers, the indigo seas that crashed to shore. That I had only last week watched Stephen Hawking in an anti-gravity chamber, smiling a smile of unutterable joy as he floated freely, unencumbered by his illness, his broken body, and the chair. How wonderful is the anticipation of a bath, filled with warm water, standing into it first, feeling the temperature on your shins, lowering yourself into the foamy suds, sitting first, clasping one leg, and then easing back, little by little, splashing the water over the body, reminding the self that we are water and that we come from it. The release of tension in muscles and joints, the slackening of taut tendons, the involuntary sigh when the back of one's head finally touches the ceramic and the neck relaxes. This womb of water, this womb that birthed me. My father has to drive me out, so I bring the world's tiniest dog, Walter, to entertain him. The curtains in the room are closed despite the noonday sun, and I imagine them undressing her and quietly open the door. Her chair is empty. It takes me a moment to find her in the room. She is in the bed, bolstered, facing the wall. I touch her gently on the shoulder and smooth her hair back from her face and tell her that I am her firstborn and favourite child and that she is having a bath. I remind her of nothing so much as waking a baby, and I lift the patchwork quilt I knit for her at Christmas and look at her bent white legs. Suddenly there are 4 of us in the room, and the harness I have christened the parachute is placed under and around her with gentle rolling and placing of limbs and straps and buckles, and then she is hoisted into the air, and my heart breaks. Although I see her on a daily basis, it hits me like a frying pan in the face that there is not an ounce of mobility left. There is nothing. The enormity of the scene shocks me, and I wonder, how will I cope with this? That one's tear bag is too near her eyeball, she would say, if she could say. Positioned in her chair, she is wheeled away from her sentinel, past the banging and clattering of pots in the kitchen, the smells of cabbage boiling, the glasses of milk poured, the comings and goings in the halls, and into the quiet room where I forgot to bring the scented candles. I pour the foam into the gushing water while my mother is undressed by 2 women, leaning forward, balancing and supporting, bracing a limp shoulder against a firm stomach. And I want to avert my eyes to afford some privacy to this most private of women, this woman I write about on a public forum and reveal her most intimate moments to an audience because I am her witness. The landscape and geography of a lover's body become as familiar as our own, but it is my mother's body that I am now acquainted with, its dips and folds, its creases, its secret spaces, the little toes that resemble my own, the fingernails, the set of it, the familiarity. The Sarita hoist is an indispensable tool, but it resembles a crucifixion. She's winched across over the water, the bright yellow rubber duck, to check the temperature. And she's lowered, lower and lower, until I can catch her tiny legs and swing her into the foam. And I see an arm moving, raising. Her arm moves and waves, not waving, but drowning. With infinite care, we sink my mother into the welcoming water which suckles and pops around her still form, and there are 8 hands washing, 6 busy ones moving, rubbing cloths and flannels over quiet limbs, 2 idle hands floating on the suds. Her head is cradled like an infant in a sink basin, and our 3 points of focus and combined energy are directed totally to the helpless body of Siobhan in the bath. I wash her hair. For many years as a child, she washed mine at the kitchen sink, the old stainless steel jug that was used to heat the baby bottles, poured over my bent head to rinse while I clamped a soaking towel to my face, inhaling the laundered smell, feeling the rough nap of it while exclaiming, "My eyes, mine, my eyes." In a mirroring image, a towel is bunched and held to her eyes as the cascade of water streams through her hair, flattening it to her head so she resembles a sleek otter, a water baby, the child I once was, the baby she has now become. The matron is pleased with how well the event is progressing and advises that maybe I could cut some fingernails. I don't do fripperies. I do singing and candles and lighting incense. I don't do removal of anything from orifices. The parachute makes a second appearance and I realize the time is over. In my mind, it would have been she and I in a hushed, candlelit room, a little incidental music, the water lapping at her shoulders. And we would have laughed and relaxed and spoken of old times, and they would come whispering in and range themselves like pictures and photographs against the white tiles, a communion of mother and daughter in a memory-filled room. She is wheeled back down the corridor to her bedroom, wrapped in towels, and we reversed the practice of the winching and the drying. Thank you so much, I say to the nurses, and touch each of those women on the arm, trying to impress on them the importance of the time we shared, the honour of the allowing, and how that honour had my own restored. It was a pleasure, says the matron. I took advantage of being in this space at this time and removed the hairdryer and dried her hair and put makeup on her and put lip gloss on her and sprayed perfume on her neck. And then I wheeled her out from her bedroom out into the courtyard where a small white-headed man sat waiting to be presented with the gift of his wife on Father's Day. Thank you.